Welcome back to Race Report, everyone. That's the Portuguese Grand Prix finished and done at Portimao. And what an okay race it was. Definitely not a classic, but there was some good overtaking moments in there. And, you know, a good third race. We had a weird old qualifying this weekend, didn't we? Where the Q2 times were so much faster than the Q3 times. It's not very often we get to see that, and it, made things a little bit interesting, to be honest. And of course, Bottas qualified on pole. We had the shock of Danny Rick going out in Q1, so he started down in 16th for this race. And we didn't really see the Red Bulls challenge all that much during qualifying. So it was kind of strange, to be honest, for this season at least. But when it came down to the race, we saw some interesting tyre choices throughout the field. I loved that we had such a good split, to be honest. Most started on the medium tyres, that's what they'd qualified on, but some started on the soft, and it took a little while for the mediums to heat up around the track, so those soft tyre users had that extra oomph getting off the line. Easier to heat up the tyres, got them into range a lot quicker. They could attack the medium tyre users almost right off the bat, and we did see that happen in the race. Perez lost out to Sainz, who was on those soft tyres. Perez was a little slow off the line, Sainz took advantage. We also saw Norris take advantage of that. He had a great scrap with Ocon in the first lap or so. It was brilliant. They were going back and forth with each other. But sadly, it didn't last long. We had a safety car right at the very start of lap 2 with Raikkonen and Giovinazzi touching, sending Raikkonen's front wing under his car, and he just had to pull off straight away. He parked up and safety car comes out. That was on the pit straight leading on to lap 2. That nullified the race straight away almost. There had been some movement up and down the field though. The restart was really interesting. When Bottas went for it, he caught Hamilton off guard, and that allowed Verstappen to take P2 at the restart. Very interesting. Norris also had a good restart. He took not only Sainz, but also Perez, so he was up to P4 at that point. But sadly, he did have to give P4 back to Perez after he overtook him off track. And honestly, that was the last time we saw the top 4 challenged. From that point on, from about lap 2, the top 4 were kind of solid. It was Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas and Perez. That's what the top 4 was. Norris wasn't going to catch him, Leclerc wasn't going to catch him. It was just those 4 out on their own, really. And from that point on, this is where it got a bit stale. It got a bit samey. There's still plenty of overtaking throughout the back of field, especially with the DRS zone on the pit straight coming down into turn 1 being particularly effective, with people just breezing past. So there's still plenty of overtaking. It was kind of interesting there. One thing that really impressed me was the Alpines this time out. We've not really seen too much of them over the last couple races. So it was really great to see them fighting, not towards the front, but in that midfield pack a lot further forward than we've seen them so far. But Ocon, I thought, did exceptional, and Alonso did really well toward the end of the race. Here, as the fuel burned away, he seemed to really catch up as well, and they provided some great moments. Still a beautiful car, so I was really excited to see that car that far up. We also saw a good recovery drive from Ricciardo. He started 16th, as I mentioned previously. He's managed to get himself some points. He finished 9th in the end, securing himself 2 points. Obviously, it's not as good as Norris, who finished 5th and was running pretty much there the entire race. But, starting 16th, recovering to 9th, nothing to sniff at, so I'm sure he'll be happy with that. The Ferraris look to be doing pretty well as well. They were hanging on to the McLarens there hanging on to Norris there for quite a while. I think the strategy caught Sainz out. His tyres seemed to go away toward the end of the race, and he dropped back. I think he was 7th or 8th, with Leclerc being 6th, and he just dropped like a stone, and I think he finished 11th in the end. Such a shame. Another real shame was George Russell. He qualified 11th. That's pole position for the strategists, right? So we were looking for a really solid race, maybe get a point, maybe get a couple of points for Williams. Would have been fantastic, right? Unfortunately not. His race didn't go to plan. He was kind of held his own off the start. He's still 11th, but when the safety car restart happened, he just dropped and he never recovered. He finished 16th in the end, below everybody except obviously his teammate and the Hasses, as well as Raikkonen, who didn't finish. And it's a real shame because, well, I think at this point everybody wants Williams to score points. Everybody knows Russell can do it, so we're just like waiting until it happens, right? I thought we were also going to see more from the Astons this time out as well, with Vettel's, pretty good qualifying on Saturday. He also dropped, and they seem to have found a place that's just outside the points for them. They finished 13th, 14th with Vettel and Stroll respectively. That seems to be their place this season, and that's such a shame, especially considering what they did as Racing Point last season. Third best car on the grid, and now they're all the way down there. Bit brutal. The fight at the front was kind of interesting. I don't think it ever swung Red Bull's way too significantly. I think Mercedes always had it in the bag. Like Bottas controlled pretty well at the early parts of the race, but then Hamilton kind of took control toward the mid part and the end. So after the safety car restart, Verstappen managed to jump Hamilton, and that lasted for a little while, but then Hamilton managed to get past Verstappen, and he managed to get past Bottas, and he was P1 about lap 20, I think it was, and that was it. That was the race done. Hamilton could just hold it from there. Verstappen did manage to secure second place for Red Bull, and that was good. One thing I will say though is Perez held P1 for a long time, and that is purely down to his ability to work the tyres. He was on medium tyres for 52 laps. That's incredible. I think Pirelli said they would go 45 laps, and he went 52. That's really great for him. It obviously did hurt his race, because when Hamilton came up to pass him, Hamilton asked for blue flags because Perez was going so slow on those old tyres, which was a shame, but it was a strategic call by Red Bull, wasn't it? Another interesting thing about those top four, or rather the three behind Hamilton, was toward the end of the race, all of them, Verstappen, Bottas and Perez, all took stops, put on the soft tyres and go for the fastest lap. That's interesting, because that kind of tells us that both teams think these 1 point for the fastest laps are going to be significant over the course of the season, which is really interesting, right? Like they've never really played a part, I don't think, the fastest laps, because nobody's been close enough for these 1 points to matter. But the fact that both Mercedes and Red Bull were like, right, we're going for it, is really interesting, because it does kind of tell us that the teams expect this to be a close fight. And now Verstappen made another mistake when it comes to this as well. It's been a real shame, because he's kind of made one-off mistakes that have been costly over the course of the season so far, and he did another one here. On his one lap on his soft tyres, he did get fastest lap, but he got penalised for track limits, so the time got deleted, meaning Bottas actually got the fastest lap. Now, it's just 1 point, it doesn't really matter for this race, but if the teams think it's going to be so significant over the course of the season, Verstappen really needs to eliminate these small mistakes. He made one in qualifying, which meant he didn't challenge for pole, and we saw him make one in the previous race, where, he passed Hamilton off the track, and he had to hand that position back and the race win back. So he just kind of needs to eliminate those small mistakes. Obviously, it's still early days, so plenty of time to do so. But it's just kind of like those one or two things right now that are stopping us from having a really ding-dong battle for the championship. That's it, really. That's my take on it. I don't even really know who I'd give driver of the day to be honest, because it all seemed a bit calm. There was nothing really, there's nothing too exciting that really got me going. So it was just a solid mid-tier race, I think. And we're going to get those. We've been blessed so far this season with so many good races. One of them was bound to not live up to it, right? Anyway, on to the next one. Who do you guys think raced the best in the Portuguese Grand Prix? Is there any suggestions you got for me? Is there any moments that I missed that you picked up on that were significant, do you think? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.